All right, so let's talk about something near and dear to everybody's heart in the real estate market: multiple offers. Specifically, I want to talk to you if you are a buyer in this market where any reasonable property is getting multiple offers. How do you find confidence that you've made a really great decision and you haven't overextended yourself and placed your family at risk? Have you ever thought about that? Well, we're going to talk about how you can know. So, the first step is make sure you are working with an agent that has a very deep understanding of the market. That's the most important thing, okay? Is to have a really great real estate agent at your side. You can go it alone if you want, and you can say, I'm unrepresented and I'm trying to save a buck. But unless you're able to get to the level of understanding in the market that somebody does it literally 80 hours a week is going to be able to offer you, you're probably going to make a decision that is less than what you should. And that doesn't mean number. That could mean you're lower than what it's going to take to win. And it could mean that you've overpaid, which means it's less than what is optimal for you guys. So let's talk real quick. All right, this is just going to be a quick example. For any given property, we can have a specific discussion about your property, a property you're interested in, anywhere in the DMV, Nova, Northern Virginia, DC, Maryland. We cover it all, and we're happy to help you with any property. This is for buyers. This is something sellers also have to understand, because you need to understand the psychology of the people that are bringing the multiple offers. Your considerations are a little different. We'll do another conversation about that. But you need to understand, whether you're a buyer or seller, what's going on here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is you need to have a good understanding of the bias in the market. What's the market doing? Is it favoring sellers, favoring buyers? And you can't just look at it and go, well, everything's going above list and everything's a multiple offer environment. You need to know how strong the market is. And there are quantifiable ways to do that. Think about this. You can be driving down the road and it can feel like you're going really, really fast because it's a narrow road and there's trees right next to it. But when you look at the speedometer, it says 35 miles an hour. You can be on the interstate and you can be doing 35 miles an hour and it feels like you're basically parked. It's the same thing in a real estate market. It can feel like it's crazy hot, but until you actually look at the speedometer, you're really not sure. So perspective is everything. So understand the market writ large first. Then the next thing is take a look at what's going on with recent sales in the area around the subject property. How long has it been on the market? How much did it sell for? How far above list or below list? Why did it go above list or below list? And then what does all of that mean to the property you're interested in putting in an offer on? If you know how to do it, you can do it at a very high level. Think about it this way. If I showed you a standard CMA, comparative market analysis, that most real estate professionals will do, it's got 4 properties on it and then the subject property. A, B, C, and D, and then the subject property. And basically what's going to happen is they're going to look at it and they're going to say, well, this one sold for X, Y, Z, and right? And they're going to say, therefore, your property that you want to put an offer in on is probably worth the average, or it's worth maybe a little more, or worth a little less. Instead of looking at 4 little dots that represent sales, doesn't it make sense to look at the entire history of what's happening in the area to start? Just seems like that's where I would want to be if I was making the largest financial decision of my family's life, right? You make this decision on average 4 times in your life. You buy or sell real estate 4 times in your life. That's it. And it's the largest financial decision that people make every single time. So this is a little more important than here's the 4 properties that sold in the neighborhood, right? Next thing you do is you tighten it up. You go from this huge clump of information to a tight clump of information that talks about what are the specific micro market sales that have happened. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to come up with a price band. The lowest one was here, highest one was here. This is the trajectory on 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms. What does that mean for the property that you're about to offer on? If this is the price band, where does the list price sit in the price band? Do I have to offer 10% above to be confident that I'm getting this property, or do I have to offer 4% above? That's where we get into some more numbers, right? So I can look at the comps that have sold in the area, and if you know how to pull the data, you can get a pretty tight idea, right? So let's take a look at this. We're gonna, excuse my glasses, they go with the gray hair. Property sold in 6 days at 102.5% of list. Property sold in 75 days at 95.9% of list. That kind of makes sense, right? What does it mean to your property? Well, it kind of depends. Did it start out priced right? Because if you've got a property that should be priced at $1 million, but it's only listed at $850, that bad boy's probably going to go up to 1.1. If you got a property that's should be priced at $1 million and it's priced at 1.1, it's probably coming down. And that's just, there's a lot of psychology that goes into it. So here's your bottom line takeaway. If you're a buyer and you're in a competitive market, which we're all in right now, and I want you to know it's going to stay this way for at least another 4 or 5 years, and there's all kinds of underlying economic reasons for that. But it's going to be a competitive environment for at least another 4 or 5 years at a minimum, assuming we don't have another black swan event. Start with knowing that you've got a trusted advisor, somebody who's going to mentor you, guide you, counsel you, protect you, make sure that you understand and you can make a really great decision with a really high degree of confidence. That's step one. Step two is know the data, not just the 4 properties that have sold recently, and figure out, well, I guess so between the lowest one and the highest one, and this one's an average property, let's go in the middle. I don't know. Come up with an actual number, a quantifiable number. I can tell you for this specific property that I just pulled, this is just yesterday, I just pulled this, the highest property sold at 11% over list. And this is over the course of the last year. So if the highest property sold 11% over list and it was reasonably priced, and we look at this property and we say it's reasonably priced, can you get a guess as to how high you would max out potentially on wanting to get this property, and where it starts making very little sense to stretch beyond? And then we start talking about appraisal risk, and that's a whole different conversation. So for now, multiple offers. Find a trusted advisor who knows the market and is able to help you understand the information at a very deep level without boring you to tears. Thanks, I'm Brett with the Lab Realty Group. If you've got any questions, let us know. Happy to help you out with anything. We'll shoot videos, sit down with you, FaceTime calls, voice calls, however it's best for you. Thanks, have a great day, bye-bye.